Hi, this is Stephanie from Stamp with Stephanie, and I'm going to show you how to make this slider card. So it looks like this and you open it. So I originally saw this idea on DawnStampinThoughts.com. She did an Easter card similar to the structure of this card. So I'm going to show you how to make this one. So the cardstock that you'll need, and I'll have all the measurements listed in the description, but you will need a piece of soft sky that measures 3.5 by 5.5. I'm sorry, 8.5 by 5.5. You will need a piece of Saffron that is 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. You'll need a piece of Whisper White thick cardstock that is 3 by 3. Another piece of Whisper White that is 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And then a scrap of Whisper White. This measures 1 by 2. It doesn't have to be exactly that size, just something close. So we'll start with the soft sky piece and we will score it. So I am going to place the long side at the top of my paper trimmer, and I'm going to score at 4 and then 8. Then I'm going to make a little slit. I'm going to move this over until, let's make sure you can see it in the camera, until the left edge lines up with the 7-inch mark. And I'm going to cut a slit. I'm going to open this arm up a little bit. And I'm going to cut a slit from about, it doesn't have to be exact, but about 1 inches down to about 4.5. All right, so you will have a slit that looks like this. The stamp set that I'm using is Moon Baby. I'm going to start out with this group of stars, and I'm going to stamp it randomly in the background with Versamark ink. So, and I'm just going to worry about this piece, this section that has the slit in it. This is the front of the card, and that's all that I really care about, having the stars on. To put a little piece of scrap paper because I might go off the edge, or I definitely will go off the edge. Next, I'm going to stamp on the 3 by 3 piece of Whisper White. I'm going to use Stays On black ink. And I'm going to stamp the baby towards the right side. Then the words over to the left towards the top. The inside piece, about 1 inch down, has the second part of the wording, which is "Do you know how loved you are?" So I'm going to go ahead and get the piece of Whisper White that measures 5 1/4 by 3 3/4. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp that about 1 inch down. I paused the camera because I wanted to give this a little bit of time to dry. I'm going to use a blender pen to color this in. My scrap paper again, just measured it. And I'm going to start with Soft Sky ink. I'm going to just pop open the ink pad, squish it, and open it so that there's some ink in the lid. And I'm going to get a lot of this ink, oops, I'm going to get a lot of this ink on the tip of my blender pen. One mistake that I have been making is not getting enough ink on my blender pen, and then my paper gets really shredded. And that's another reason I'm using the Whisper White Thick, is because it holds up better than just the regular Whisper White paper when you use a blender pen. And I'm just going to color this in like I would use a regular marker. When you're ready to switch colors, you just get a scrap piece of paper and you scribble until all of that color, you scribble and rotate until all that color comes off. That's good. So my next color, I'm going to do Pink Pirouette. I wish we had like a better, like a, I don't know, some kind of a skin tone. I know everybody has different skin tones, but just something better than pink. I guess I'm kind of pink, but so again, make sure you get enough ink on this. But this one I don't want to saturate too much because I really don't want the baby to look too pink. Which, by the way, I'm doing a baby card, one, because my good friend is having a baby and she's having a boy, which is why I'm doing it in blue, but I am also having a boy in 3 months. So 3 months exactly from today. So I have been having baby on the brain lately, and I just love this stamp set. Okay, and now I'm going to just wipe that off and switch to Saffron ink. And color in this umbrella. And my baby is going to have early espresso hair. So that's all of the coloring. Now I don't know if you can see this on camera, but this card has a little shimmer to it right here, and I did that because Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. I kind of wanted to make it look like there were some stars, some glittery stars in the background. So how I did that is I took my Wink of Stella brush and just a scrap piece of cardstock, and I squeezed out kind of a little puddle. Don't do too much because then you'll overdo it. I kind of overdid it with that one. And then you just kind of flick the brush. Ooh, yeah, see, I really overdid it again. But you flick the brush and kind of splatter paint. This was entirely too much. I'm going to use a tissue to see if I can get some of this off, at least off of the baby. So then I will need to let that dry for a minute. So while that's drying, I'll set that aside and we can put this card together. So the first thing to do is fold in your score lines. All right. And the slit is going to go over to the right. You'll want your scrap piece of white that measures about 1 by 2, and you're going to insert it into that slit. Take 2 dimensionals and put them on the edge, the right edge of that slit, and push the piece of paper in. Then carefully flip this over, and I'm going to put a couple of pieces of tear and tape over on this side. I'm going to make sure this is sort of straight as I can get it, and I'm going to remove the backing on the tear and tape, and then I'm going to take my piece of paper that we stamped the message on, make sure it's face down, and center that. I'm going to line it up towards the top. I forgot one important step before you do this. You'll want to take a circle punch and just punch half a circle. Try to save this. Oh. Then, in order to not ruin your punch, just cut this first, fold it over so you can line it up, and punch again. Okay. So pretend I did that before I started doing this section. Okay. All right. So I'm going to try to make this straight as I can. And the top part of the card, I'm going to align towards the top and then center it horizontally. Then I'll put more tear and tape along this little 1/2 inch edge here. And fold the card closed. So at this point, it should slide in, up and down. Let's go ahead and put the ribbon. I'm using the 1/4 inch double stitched ribbon, and this is actually Daffodil Delight, and the other yellows I'm using are Saffron, but it was close enough that it didn't bother me, and I really like the lighter, softer color, yellow color over here. So I've got, that measures about 8 inches, and I'm going to fold this in half and cut it in half. And then I'm going to fold both of these pieces in half. Stack them on top of each other, and I'm going to staple them to the top. Then I'm going to trim my ends. All right, hopefully my excessive wink of Stella is dry enough. I'm going to get a scrap piece of paper just in case. And I'm going to use some fast fuse to attach this to the Saffron piece. And then I'm going to bring this down, remove these two dimensional back pieces. And I'm going to layer this on top of here towards the bottom. Like that. And there you have it. Now your decorated piece slides up and down. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks for watching.